Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where each Tuesday, your host, Rick Sayes, gathers around the mic with outdoor industry entrepreneurs, brand leaders, founders, and enthusiasts to share stories from the backcountry, the startup files, and the retail aisles. Rick's guests offer actionable advice to land your ideal industry gig, grow your outdoor career, or plan your next big adventure. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And now, here's Rick.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 352 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Mark Wolters from Wolters World. From Japan to Jacksonville, Mark and family want to show fellow travelers the world. As a family of four who have spent decades living, traveling, and working abroad, they appreciate honesty in travel and aim to give that to others to help them make the most of their precious travel time. And Mark is here to tell us all about it. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks, Rick. It's glad to be on. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun conversation. I always love talking to fellow travelers and those of you guys who make your living traveling the world. I'm very jealous of that, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, let's get started.
All right, let's go. Let's talk about right out of the gate. How were you inspired to travel the world? Where did that come from?
You know, it's funny. When I started off as a kid in high school, I never thought I'd leave the state of Illinois. I mean, I maybe go on vacation or something, but it never really was a big thing because when I was a kid, all we ever did, like our vacations were going to Ohio to see my grandpa and go to Cedar Point to ride some roller coasters, and that was it. But when I was in high school, I met this girl from South Africa, and she's like, you should try study abroad or be an exchange student. I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, wait, they got summer ones. Why don't you try that? And she got me excited about that, so I ended up going to Australia for a summer when I was like 16, and I was like, this is amazing. I love it. And I came back a changed person. I wanted to travel as much as I could. I ended up studying another year abroad when I was in high school. I studied twice abroad when I was in college. I did my master's in Germany. I had my PhD in Portugal. I ended up working in Lithuania for 3.5 years and working in Brazil and all kinds of stuff. And it was a nonstop thing after that. It was like, I tell people, it's like, it's the most expensive drug in the world is travel.
Yeah.
Because you just go, and you can't get enough. And there's so many great places to go. So that's what really first, piqued my interest. I mean, I can think back if you want to do the Freudian kind of thing of what really was the kernel of travel in you. And I think maybe it was my grandfather sending me postcards from all over the U.S. when I was a kid. And I was like, that's cool. Well, where is he now? And it was like all these random places around the U.S. he sent us postcards from. So
what did he do?
It's kind of like, he was a minister and he had retired. And so they ended up sending him all over the U.S. to be like a guest minister. Like if they're someone's going to be gone for 2 months or 3 months, he'd go there. So he'd be 3 months in New York, 2 months in Pennsylvania, a month. And so it was cool because then he'd go travel around all the places there and send us postcards from all over. And I'm really sad because, back in the day, we read the postcards and mom would put it up for a week and then throw it away. I'm like, I wish we still had those.
No kidding.
I know. So, yeah, so it'd be nice to have. So I send postcards everywhere I travel to my kids, my wife, my mom, my grandma when she was alive, my aunt. So they always give me the postcards back. So I have bins and bins of postcards from the last 30 years of traveling, from places. I'm like, I saw one, it was from my grandma. It was like nightlife in Temora, New South Wales, which is where I lived as an exchange student as a kid. And it's just a all black picture. It just has a light on it saying, oh, there's nothing there. And now I'm like, that was funny when I was 15, 16. But now I'm like, I wish you would have sent a postcard with a picture of where you lived.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, so that's kind of where it started.
And what did you
kind of grown.
Did you ever get to travel with your grandfather? You go with him at all?
So I did get to go to one. So he had prostate cancer in the late 80s, and in the back then it wasn't like now where you could it's manageable. So he's like, look, I've got a few years left. Let's go. And so he ended up taking me out to Maine, and we did a schooner trip up the Maine coast.
Cool.
So we spent a week on a ship with a bunch of other people, and it was really cool adventure to go on with him. It was the last time he got to go too, and that meant a lot to me to be able to do that. So that's why I'm always a big advocate for multi-generational travel. If you're a grandparent, you take your grandkids, take your adult kids, just go. Because then everyone has a better story than, nothing wrong with baking cookies with grandma. My kids love doing that. But it's like baking cookies with grandma. Then my parents talk to my kids. Oh, remember when we were in Rwanda that sparks other conversations.
Yeah,
So.
I agree 100%. Yeah, get out there and see the world. And it's always
Mm-hmm.
amazing, too, because when you do go out there and see the world, the experience is completely different from when somebody told you about it. They said this about that place, it was scary, or this about that place, the people were mean. And you go, and it's like, what are you talking about? It's fantastic.
Exactly.
Everywhere.
And that's why I always love traveling to new places and making our videos and our blogs about stuff. Just so it's like, look, we've been there. This is our experience. And I always tell people, like, make a blog, make videos, like share your experience, because everybody's experience at the same destination could be different. So give people a lot of options.
Yep, that's very cool. And what was the inspiration for Wolters World? Was it that sharing of your experiences?
Oh no, the inspiration for Wolters World, I was in Italy and I got a guidebook like at the Venice airport. It was like the AAA of Italy, guidebook. It was the only one that was in English. It was for the Veneto region. I was going to stay there. I was going to, was visiting friends, and I got this guidebook and I read the first entry was like this. It read about this town. And it sounded fantastic. And I'm like, no, it's about Veneto, and it doesn't start with Venice or Vicenza, Verona, and it's this other town. I'm like, and it sounds amazing. And so this is something I should have realized when I showed my friends that lived in Vicenza, whose families have lived in Vicenza for 500 years, and I showed them the book, and I was like, this town sounds great. They're like, wow, we've never been. I'm like, now I know that's like, yeah, if the locals have never gone there, and so I read it. It was like, oh, the palazzo is amazing, the museum, the food, the square. And then I ended up going there. The palazzo is getting renovated or something. Like the wonderful square is a parking lot. The museum doesn't really have much. I'm like, that was really lame. And I was I was getting my PhD at the time, so it was between semesters, so I had free time. But I had all my friends back home that were in their late 20s, early 30s. I'm like, man, if that was your vacation and you only had once in a lifetime, 10-day vacation in Europe, and you threw away a day or two because somebody oversold a place, like that's not right. Like I just felt really bad, and I'm like, this can't happen. So then I started making videos that were really focused on honest travel, and it was like the loves and the hates, not just everything's fantastic, but hey, if you're going to good places, sometimes things happen, and even if it's bad things, if you know it's going to happen, then it's not really bad. You're prepared for it, and then you feel kind of like, haha, I knew that was going to happen. So it works better. So that's where the videos and all the stuff kind of came from, is really focused on that. Was just, bad experience of someone writing that was too much fluff and not enough help. Yeah,
let's tell the truth. So your marketing degree must help with that. Where'd you get your marketing degree from?
So I got my marketing degree from the University of Illinois.
Okay.
4 years here in the Champaign-Urbana area, and then did my master's in Germany, my PhD in Portugal, and I'm actually now a professor at the University of Illinois, and I actually teach the class that inspired me to become a marketing major.
Oh, how cool is that?
So it's like full circle kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that must be very inspiring to your students too, then, because you did full circle, and
I think students now are thinking more. I always make a joke. I'm like, hey, if it doesn't work out with the corporate world, Illinois hires their people back. So I find the humor, and the students are like, no, I'm leaving. Like, all right.
You always have a home here. That's funny.
Exactly. That's what's cool.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so your team, your wife, Jocelyn, is that it?
Yeah, Jocelyn.
Jocelyn is the chief marketing officer. And are the boys working yet? Or are they still too young?
No, well, they do their own thing. So my son Liam, he's 11. He has his own channel, but he does the kid stuff. He likes to do like food ranking videos, and he wants to do like gaming videos. But I'm just like, dude, don't do that to yourself. Just don't do that to yourself.
Right.
My older son used to do some occasional videos for us, but once he got to his teenage years, he's like, I don't want to be in the videos. So people now are like, don't you have another son? I'm like, I do, but he doesn't want to be in the videos anymore, so I'm not going to put him in there if he doesn't want to. So he's not in there as much as people would like, but I feel eventually he'll come back.
He'll come back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so Jocelyn is the chief marketing officer. Does she have a marketing degree as well?
She works her degree. She actually has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in architectural history and preservation. But she worked for a nonprofit that specialized in historic preservation and all these things. And she was their marketing officer for a number of years. So that's what she did for quite a long time. So now she's our chief creative officer and marketing, and so she does a lot of fun stuff for us.
Gotcha, very cool. You guys put out a lot of cool content. I was poking on the website the other day. It's pretty awesome, some of your videos. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, good job, man. Tell everybody about Wolters World. What do you guys do, and how do you keep up with everything? Because you put out a lot of stuff. How do you keep it up?
Yeah, so Walter's World, basically, it's a travel and culture. Basically, it's everything based off of YouTube videos. And so, what we want to do is we want to give honest travel advice for anybody that's going to travel, whether you're going to study abroad or you're a family of 5 going to Europe, or if you're a retiree looking to retire in Costa Rica. We want to put out travel videos that are going to help you know what you do, but also what you don't do. So, we focus on the loves and hates, the do's and don'ts, the culture shocks people have when they go. And we do it because we're normal people, so you don't see us doing the backflips off the cliffs, and we're not like Jocelyn's not walking around with a flowing dress and a floppy hat. You're not seeing us on Instagrammers in the wild and stuff like that. It's just normal people giving you advice from their travels.
We're here in our jeans and t-shirts, folks, just having fun.
Exactly.
Cool.
And so we do that, and then because we have multiple channels, because we have our main Wolters World channel on YouTube. We have over 900,000 subscribers. Over 200 million views on that one. That's where we focus on the really solid stuff, like what to know before you go, travel do's and don'ts, culture shocks. Then we have, we started to see that people really wanted food videos, and how the algorithm works. They like to. YouTube's like, no, we only show your travel videos. So we ended up opening up a new channel called Wolters World Eats, and that's where we put in like what to eat when you go to Finland, what to eat when you go to Italy. So that's where our food videos live. And then we have our Wolters World Shorts channel, because the vertical videos I just don't feel they work well when you have 30-second videos next to 15 to 20-minute videos. So we have a Shorts channel that has the things you see on TikTok and Instagram. We put them on there too. And we do a weekly live travel news on there. And then let's see, what else do we have? And then, Liam's channel's on there as well with his fun stuff. But then we also have Professor Wolters. And I believe in the democratization of education. So my courses that I teach, I film them all when I travel around the world. And so I break it down into different sections. So instead of like an hour and a half long video of me standing in front of the blackboard talking, which is boring as all get out, it's like, okay, we're going to talk about a SWOT analysis when we're here in Rwanda. And then we're going to talk about your key success factors from here in the Netherlands. So then it's a little bit more exciting for the students when they watch.
Yeah.
And then it's fun because when I'm making the content around the world, I can kind of mix it up and do some business content too.
That's got to be really fun for you.
Oh, it is. And my students seem to like it, especially because I've been doing this since before COVID. So when everything went online, I already had everything there. So my students are like, oh, thank you. We're so tired of looking up the noses of our professors because they don't know how to like do Zoom or other things. So it's been fun, and it's helped a lot of people because it's really nice. I'll get emails from like this lady has an Etsy store in Thailand. Thank you for teaching me marketing, and other professors like, your content saved my butt. Thank you. So it's been really nice to see.
Awesome, good for you. That's very cool. Are there 2 areas of the business you're most passionate about? Any 2 topics you like to teach or?
Well, if we look over, I like to focus on helping people do things on their own. So, like people are like, oh, are you a travel agent? I'm like, no, I want to facilitate people and help people get to the point where they can do their own travel planning. They can go on the trip on their own. They're ready to go. And that's also how I like to do my classes. I tell my students, I'm here to get you ready for when you walk out that door in the real world. If I don't get you ready for that real world, I failed you as a professor. And so I try to give them more real world examples. So my passion is really into helping people be able to help themselves. So that comes out in all the videos that we do. I'm not going to waste your time. I want you to get something out of it. So you don't go, why did I just waste 10 minutes of my life watching that video, or 5 minutes of my life? I'm like, oh, I got something out of that. Great. So that's the biggest one, is helping people, is whatever it is. But I think in the passion one, I really enjoy the don'ts videos, like what you don't do, because I love when people come on and they're all mad. Like, oh, don't tell me what not to do in Italy. Don't tell me what not to do in Texas. And then they're like, oh, this wasn't like a don't, like a bad don't. It was like there was some good don'ts as well. Like, don't forget to do this, and I find that people take your advice better if you have both in there. So that's one of those fun things in there. I really like doing those because, like, I want to put the fun things in, but also that opens them up to like, hey, look, if you're going to be in Portugal, don't forget you got to pay for the bread and the butter and the olives. So that might actually cost more than your actual meal. So don't get all pissed off, because I saw so many people getting upset about these little things. I'm like, dude, it's a little thing. Don't let it ruin your vacation. And it would. But if I can let people know about those things first, help them be that's going to make a better vacation for them. Because if it does happen, they're like, no, I don't need the butter. Haha, they're so proud of themselves for knowing those things. So,
Right.
so that's where my passion really lies. Just helping people and getting that information out.
That's very cool. That's pretty important too, because I've traveled around the world a few places too, and it's like, man, I wish somebody would have told me that before I got here. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. And tell us about your audience. Give us a couple of their key metrics. Is it mostly students, or is it mostly?
Oh no, my students before they study abroad think I'm a total loser. Like, because actually my classes, I don't really talk about Wolters World very much.
Okay.
It's just like they'll see the videos. Like if I'm going to be gone for a conference, I say, here's the videos to watch. Oh, that's kind of cool that you have that. And some of them know and stuff, because our channel's gotten big enough now that people know us from that. So every semester I have 3 or 4 students that'll come into class and, hey, I took this class because I was a fan. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Thank you. Yeah. But I think in the audience overall, like, it's really spread from 18 to 65. It's relatively spread out. And I always would have thought, oh, it's just old farts that are going to watch this to go travel. No, it's amazing. Like, our biggest demographic is 25 to 35. And it's people that want to travel because, people want to travel, but they want to get more out of it than just, here's the top 10 things to see. Yeah, there's 4,000 videos on that or 4,000 blogs on that. And, content farms will just churn those things out, no problem.
Right.
They're like, hey, you're actually giving us cultural things so I can fit in better when I'm there. And I think that's kind of cool. And that's really, I think, resonated with people because I know this is a podcast, so you all can't see me. I'm not a looker. Okay. I'm not a looker at all. But it's cool because people actually, they take the advice to heart. And that's one of the things I really appreciate.
Yeah, and I think people over the years have gotten more experiential in their travels, right? It used to be that you would, like my folks, when they were traveling, they were kind of old and fuddy-duddy and didn't like to do a lot of things, but they like to go see a lot of things, museum and whatnot. And I think people over the years have gotten more experiential. They want to go have that experience and eat the different food and eat the, the snakes over here and the worms over there. And it's
that's right.
Good, cool. Yeah,
Can't go wrong with grubs that taste like bacon.
That's right.
Welcome to Ecuador.
That's right.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I mean, it used to be you go, town hall, square, museum, hotel,
church.
But now it's like, church. Sorry, I forgot the church. See, we've changed so much and throw the church in there.
Right.
But now you're right. Now it's like you do a food tour, or we always do like cooking classes or art classes. Like my wife and my oldest son, last time we were in Paris together, they did a oil painting class in plein air. So it was like behind Notre Dame on the Seine. They're painting Notre Dame with the scaffolding on it and stuff. And while they're doing that, I went and made macarons with my youngest son, because he loves those. So we did a class on that. And I'm like, yeah. And it really makes it a lot nicer because then you have the time to talk to people. You meet more locals. You get more information. So, yeah, like I always recommend, man, if you can take a cooking class, it's a fun thing to do. It also, for money-wise, you're doing a thing, but you're also paying for at least one meal. So it's like, hey, why not?
And you're paying for a local guide because he's going to, as you're doing the cooking class, he's going to tell you all kinds of cool stories. Yeah, very cool.
Exactly.
Great idea. Do you have a craziest adventure story from all your travels?
Well, there's quite a few, but I don't know the rating for the podcast.
I got no rating. It is what it is. You can drop an F-bomb here and there if you want.
I'll go with a family one.
Okay.
I think a family one is I was working in China. I was teaching in Beijing. And I'm in like my morning faculty meeting, and all of a sudden my phone rings. I'm like, why is my wife calling when she knows I'm in class? I'm like, hey, babe, what's up? And like before, like she is screaming, Mark, we've got to get to the hospital. Oh my God, his hand. I'm freaking. I'm like, what happened? His hand was smashed. His hand was smashed in the door. And so my youngest, he was 2, and he got his hand smashed in a metal door, but not in the side you open, on the hinge side.
Oh.
Yeah, and they couldn't get his hand out of the door. So they had to like open the door again to get it out. So smash it again to get it back out.
God.
And he was just screaming. So I had my TA also works as my translator. And it's like, we got to go. Like class is canceled today. So like we run out of the meeting. We get to the room. We get to the back of the hotel. They're in the lobby. He's in tears. Okay, we got to get to the hospital. So we hop in the car, and Beijing's huge. We hop in a taxi. We go to the bone hospital because we think his bones are broken. Get to the bone hospital. I mean, there's so many people there. It looks like a MASH unit because there's literally gurneys outside everywhere. So we finally get to see a doctor. They're like, oh, it's for him, the kid? Oh, no, you have to go to the children's hospital. We don't do that. So then we hop in another taxi, get to the children's hospital. They have like 10,000 people a day there. I mean, the lines are insane. We get to there. we get lined up, we get an X-ray set up, and like we're sitting there. So in China, at least at that time, sometimes the little kids when they're learning to potty train, they just hop a squat and poop right there on the floor. And so we're sitting there, and this little toddler comes walking by us, and he just squats down and poops right on the floor, and the mom just wipes it up and throws it away. And I'm like, huh, okay. So we're sitting there in the hospital. We go to get the X-ray, and of course he's still screaming because his hand is just a mess. And the doctor there is like, nah, we're gonna have to put him under because I'm not dealing with any screaming kids. I'm like,
oh, jeez.
You were, and my wife and I were like my TA had said, well, there's a private hospital across the street you could go to. And I'm like, screw it, we're going there. I'm not dealing with this because it was getting so bad. And so we ended up walking out of there, went across the street to the private hospital, and like, yeah, you can join, but you have to be a member. I'm like, what's the fee? Like, oh, it's $300. I'm like, and they're like, and they go, it's $300, and the ATM's right there. Like, it's like checking. I'm like, sold. Like,
yeah.
You're like, we will see your son will see the doctor in about 5 minutes, and you'll have an X-ray in like 10 minutes, and we'll have it like, it was like a half-hour like, oh my God. I'm like, yes. So my son has a lifetime membership to the Children's Hospital in Beijing.
Nice.
But we got in, and the X-ray, the doctor got the X-ray. He's like, yeah, no, because he's little, his hand's going to be okay. He's just going to, ice and da-da-da. But the funny thing was that we got a picture with the doctor, and I put it in one of our videos about how, we had a good time in China. Even when it was bad, the doctor was nice. And one of our fans was like the best friend of the doctor.
Oh,
so
cool.
like, oh my God, you know him, that's my friend, blah, blah. So it was a fun thing. But my God, that day of just going all over Beijing, it's a city of 25 million people with your kid's hand, just a pancake. It turned out okay in the end, thank goodness. But yeah, that was a little bit crazy on that end. And then of course there's always the shakedowns by the cops in Russia.
Oh yeah.
And on the border patrol. But that happens to everybody.
Everybody has that, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, China can be quite the experience when you have to go behind the scenes or actually in real life China. Something happens. That's like a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It
cool.
was.
And he turned out all right. That's nothing was broken?
No. The doctor said because he was 2. He's
okay.
His English was good, but it wasn't perfect. He was like, the bones are kind of rubbery. I'm like, yeah, I'll go with the bones are rubbery. It's not broken. They just showed us the X-ray. I'm like, they're not broken. He's like, they're rubbery. I'm like, works for me.
That's awesome. That's very cool. And how about, is there some place that you haven't been to that's at the top of your list, high on your list?
So there's actually a few places that I haven't been that I really want to go. I know Israel and Egypt are way up there for me. Bhutan is another place. Like those are 3 ones I really want to get to. Israel, like that's been nailed twice because of COVID. Egypt's been nailed once because of COVID. So it's like, well, and also the Arab Spring. That was another time I was supposed to go. So there's like those ones like, I got to go. I want to go. And then Bhutan is one, my wife. That's her number one. But if you want to go there, it's like $200, $250 a day per person for a personal guide, like the visa kind of stuff, because you have to be escorted through and things. So that's one I want to wait till the kids are a little bit older because the altitude and everything. And then another one I want to do is Antarctica. And I'm waiting for my 11-year-old to get about 15, 16 to go do that just for safety stuff.
Yeah,
so
Antarctica's amazing. You got to get down there and see that. It's phenomenal.
So those are the 4 ones I really want to get to.
Cool.
That we haven't yet.
And if you go to Antarctica, make sure you stop by South Georgia Island and check that out because that was it's where Shackleton landed after they lost the ship, and he held everybody up on stashed them on Elephant Island, and then took off to find a rescue. It was South Georgia Island. So that's a cool place. He's buried there. That's a cool spot to see.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
I'll hopefully get there. Nice.
There you go. Yeah, check it out. You'll get there. Yeah, it's on the way.
Oh, it's on the way.
We're going to take a little break and give some love to our sponsor. I've heard from some of you photographers out there that you've always wanted to sell your photos online. Well, SmugMug makes it easy. With a few clicks, you can start selling prints and digital downloads right away. They handle everything from billing to shipping and work with some of the best labs in the world. Rick Say's Photography has been with SmugMug for over 20 years, and they've handled every transaction flawlessly. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/sellphotos and try it for free. To set up your account today, go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/sellphotos. And now, back to the show. So, it sounds like you do almost everything. Is there any favorite activities or specific outdoor stuff you guys do?
So I do like to do hikes, but I don't want to do like death-defying hikes. I like kind of family trails and treks. Like, I've hiked Inca Trail a couple times, which was really fun. We've done a few other hikes around, but like for me, if we're gonna go someplace, if we can get like a water activity, not necessarily like I don't like the beach because I'm worried I'm gonna get harpooned because I'm a big guy. Okay, but like my go-to things like if you're in Jamaica and you go to like the Blue Hole and you're like there's all these water slides, like natural water slides you'll do, or in the Smoky Mountains, there's a bunch of natural water slides you can go on. So like fun things like that we'll do, or hikes you can go. And like give me a 2 hour, 3 hour hike. I'm like, I love that. I don't want to do like a 12-hour trek that you might not come back from. I'm like, I'm too old these days for like you might not come back from it jokes. So
Yeah, been there, done that.
yeah,
That's good.
but that's kind of like my go-to one, and that's one thing that's cool is you've had so many places, even urban areas now will either put a bike pass or hiking trails now. So it's really nice because I mean I remember even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was hardly like it was like you did the Inca Trail and you hike up Pikes Peak or something like that was it. Now like hey, the county has its own trail, which is really nice. So you can kind of get back to nature, get away from the hustle and bustle of the city or the hustle and bustle of life, and just relax.
Yeah, very cool. Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks that want to get into travel, start traveling?
I would say start traveling. Don't wait. I mean, that's one thing, because I talk to a lot of retirees or people that are getting close to retirement. They're like, we're going to go do all of our travels when the kids are grown, and they're out of the house and we retire, then we're going to go. Well, you never know if you're going to get that time. Also, like my parents only started traveling a lot. Like they traveled a lot for work when I was a kid. But for pleasure, they only started like when I was doing my master's.
Oh, wow.
So, that's like 20 years ago. So they were like in their 50s when they started to really travel. And my mom and I still talk now. She's like, I'm glad we did. Because she's like, now it's hard to do things. Like there's places I won't take my parents just because of mobility issues and stuff. And you want to do that as soon as I mean, when you can. I mean, financially is a very different thing. But physically is something you also have to think about. It's like, will I physically be able to do that? So that's why I say, get out traveling. But another thing, I think people that have kids, I see these, like Vine, or not Vine, like TikToks and Instagrams. Like, it's like, oh, we have a kid. And they like bury their passport. Like, I'm not going to use you for 18 years or something. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, traveling with kids is the best because especially you go to places you've gone before. It's like you see it all again through their eyes. And then people are like, oh, but my kids are little. They won't remember. I'm like, you know what? You'll remember. Like I remember teaching my youngest son how to walk in Paris and him walking around the corner of our apartment laughing, going, see, I did it myself. I'm like, you little,
Yeah.
So I'm like, just get going. Like, and the thing is, you don't have to make it some expensive trip around the world. Even if you're getting to travel to find places near where you live, like, oh, there's a state park near you. Go and enjoy that, and things like that, just getting out and going. Because it's amazing when you start to travel, you appreciate what you have and you appreciate other things too. But it's just one of those things like you're opening your mind to new possibilities. So that's why I just say it's just get out traveling if you're thinking about it for the first time. Start small or start big, but just start traveling because then you start to see what you like and don't like. So your next trip will be even better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. My parents got us, they got a trailer when we were young. So we went camping and stuff. And then we just did stuff our entire lives. And that's how it inspired us to do all the things we do as kids. We still travel as adults now because of that. So
that's awesome.
Get going. How about if someone wants to get in and start their own travel YouTube or travel blog? Do you have any advice for those folks?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Just do it. Like, some people are like, don't make yourself more competition. I'm like, why not? Like, I can't go everywhere in the world. And they can go to the same place and they'll have a different experience. And that's one thing, as I've seen a lot more new travel bloggers and vloggers coming up after COVID because people are, the van life stuff and they're traveling around and making content. It's really helped to bring a lot more attention to smaller locations. So I tell people, it's like, do it. But I think if you're going to do the blog or you're going to do the videos, have an idea of what you want to do. I mean, just try a lot of different videos, see what kind of works for you, and go from there. Because if you try to do the same thing as somebody else, well, then why would they watch you instead of the person you're imitating, right? So find your own niche and how you're going to deal with it in your voice, and that's going to make it a lot easier for people to identify with you. It's like I always tell my students, nobody goes to McDonald's too. They go to Burger King. They go to Culver's. They go to In-N-Out Burger because it's something different. They have their own thing, and you need to find your own voice in there. And that's why I think one of the reasons why I like the top 10 site stuff doesn't do very well anymore, because so many people do it. It's like, look, there's only so many ways you can say go to the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe, like talk about something else. So find that different angle.
Yeah. And put your spin on it too. I think there's, I don't know if you know about the article, 1,000 True Fans. Kevin Kelly wrote it, and he's the founder of Wired Magazine. And we all have our own interpretation and our own, we've lived life as us, which is completely different than everybody else that's lived life. So just put your spin on it, because there's probably 1,000 people out there that are going to like it. And if you can find 1,000 people to pay you $10 for your blog, you're in, so just do it. Yeah, that's good advice. Mm-hmm. Cool. How about your favorite piece of travel gear under $100?
Under $100, I do not go anywhere without my Osprey Nebula backpack.
Oh, okay.
Osprey makes great backpacks, great carry-ons, great stuff. I use them all the time. Like we're probably like 10 years into basically only Osprey for me and the boys and Jocelyn. Though Jocelyn will have her own purses and stuff because Osprey doesn't quite fit everything she wants to do. But her like carry-on bag or her back like day pack stuff, it's all Osprey. But I like the Nebula series because it's one thing I can use it to go when we travel, and it holds a lot of stuff, but also I can take it to work, so I can have my laptop back there, then anything I need to take my files and stuff as well in the other pocket. So it's a good backpack, and that's one thing is if you're going to be getting backpacks, make sure you try them on and fit them to your back, because even if something's like expensive and sounds nice, everybody's body's different and how it fits is different. So try those on. But for me, I got to have my Osprey backpack.
Great stuff, man. They've been doing it for a lot of years. That's good advice. As we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to say or ask of our listeners?
I would just say, like, if you want to travel, go out and travel if you can, and share your experiences, because it doesn't have to be a blog or a video. Sometimes it's just, when you post on Facebook to your family, like, hey, this is what happened to us when we're here. You might want to know this, or we really enjoyed that. Because a lot of times we get people that just write us, say, hey, where should I go? And sometimes if you have a good experience, let your friends know. That'll help them. Maybe they'll go there too. But also, if you have a bad experience, it might be good to let them know as well. So then they can be like, oh, maybe I don't go there, So it's just more information that's out there to help other people travel better. So, and then I think another word of advice I would give, if you're going to be traveling over the next probably 18 months with all the airport and airline issues, always pack patience and kindness, because you're going to need a lot more patience when you're going through the airports, but you're also, a little kindness goes a long way with all the airport personnel that are trying to help us out, because they're getting yelled at every day by so many people. So a thank you goes a long way if they help you out.
That's great advice. And how can people find you if they want to follow up? Obviously, your website, that is?
WoltersWorld.com. It's WOLTERS world.com. But if you want to find us on any of the social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, it's all at Wolters World, and you'll find us there. Just look for a husky guy that's balding on top with a ponytail, and that'll be me.
Easy to find. Awesome. Well, we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes. Well, it's been great talking with you. I hope we run into each other somewhere around the world. That'd be fun.
Thanks, Rick. I can't wait for it. You have a great one, my friend.
You do the same. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes with links to everything we talked about and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend about the show. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Sayes.